Hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Chuck. My name is Chuck Guglielmo, a weekly interview show where we talk with interesting people around the community. And today we have a very familiar person here in the Conneaut area, for that matter, around all of Ashtabula County and maybe even northeastern Ohio, Pat Williams. Pat, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for asking me, Chuck. I haven't seen you for quite a while.
I know, this is the only way I can see you.
I know. I think the last time we were together was 2 years ago when we taped one of these shows.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you were one of my first guests when this show was at its infancy stages. Yeah. And so I thought I'd catch up with you a little bit. So Pat, tell us, outside of being a year older, what's new? What's new?
Well, not a whole bunch. You know, when you're retired, not a lot is going on. But I did find out recently that I have cataracts in both eyeballs. Oh. So that comes with age. Mm-hmm. You know, and I've been suffering from sciatica.
Sciatica. Oh, that's terrible.
It's horrifying, and it won't go away. I've gone to doctors for it and everything else. And I guess maybe the next thing is surgery. But my dad had 3 back surgeries years and years ago from World War II, and he says, "Don't get back surgery if you don't have to." You know, so.
Does the sciatica shoot down one of your same leg, or does it rotate?
It jumps around. You know, it mostly is in just the lower back. Sometimes it'll go into my leg. But you've had it, before.
Yeah, I had it recently here about a month ago. Yeah. But for change, it only lasted one day.
Yeah, yours goes away.
Yeah,
and this isn't seeming to go away. So who knows?
Well, you may say you're getting older, but you still don't look a day over 60.
Believe me, I am.
Of course, Pat, Pat's been on the radio as a DJ, and you've been on the radio as a talk show. You've also been on a TV show here on Talk Show. You've also been a writer for a couple of papers, I believe, maybe as many as 3.
Right.
Of all those things, what do you think you enjoyed the best?
I really liked radio. I really did. And of course, you and I go back to the radio days and TV days, and I enjoyed that for some reason because we'd get call-ins and stuff, and people would talk to us and stuff. I remember when this guy first started. It's hilarious. I called him up one night and I said, your son was just starting out, Paul. And I said, "Can I get your son to be a co-host with me?" And he go, "Wait a minute. I kind of like to do that myself." So Chuck come in, and it took about what? 10 weeks for you to start talking.
To open up.
You were shy.
Yeah, very shy. I remember that.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, one day you just came in and bang,
and took off. I didn't give you a chance to talk after that.
You took over.
But I wasn't as bad as, who was that guy you had? Ryan, was it?
Ryan Lensel.
Ryan Lensel. Yeah. He was quite the talker.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
he was.
Now, when you were at the radio station, we're talking about 1360 WL Radio, you did some DJ work there before you had a talk show, is that correct? Or advertising or something?
Well, I actually, when I got out of the newspaper business in 85 or 86, I went there for about 3 months to sell, but I couldn't sell. I was not a good salesperson. And, but while I was there, I got a chance to learn how to work the microphone and that sort of stuff. And then I think it was in 99, John Kansas bought the station, and his assistant, Joe Martin, I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, I do remember him. He moved down south, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Louisiana or somewhere down there.
Yep. And he said, John Kansas I went to lunch with him one day, and he says, "You have a radio voice." And he said, "Would you be interested in doing a show?" So every Saturday for 5 hours, it was the longest 5 hours I ever had to do, we'd do 1-hour interviews with different businesses. They would charge those businesses, and I would be the interviewer. So I did that for about 6 months, and still was working at the Courier. And then I think it was a couple years later, Larry Weiss bought this station, and he hired me to be a news director, and from that I just kind of went into the talk show thing, and which I had never done before, where you're the shows that we used to do. I think it was like 3 or 4 hours in the morning.
I think so.
And
7 to 10 or something?
I think it was 6 to 10.
6 to 10.
And you came in tons of times and helped me out. It helped me out a lot at the AM Live show as well. So that's the part I miss the most, is working with the cast of characters we had as co-hosts, and all the people that would call in. You had a chance to talk to people and stuff. It was a good time.
So at the radio station, the years that you've spent there, you've worked for like 3 or 4 different ownerships. So you've had different formats at the station.
Right. The one format was country western, I think, when I was selling, and then John
That was
Mara.
pretty popular, though, wasn't it?
It
the
was.
Country western.
It was very, very popular. And then when John Mara bought it, he went to religious programming, but kept the morning show intact, even though the rest of it was religious stuff. And that's when you and I came in and did the show our way, and pretty much left us alone. We didn't do anything hurtful or anything like that.
When you did the talk show on the radio, you followed the legendary Ken Vaughn.
Yes, yeah, great guy.
Yeah, he was a great guy, and he won some kind of award that the Star Beacon, I think, was running in a contest, and he ended up winning the thing.
He did.
Top dog or something like
top
that?
dog.
County.
Yeah. That's quite a while ago.
Yeah, you talk about a distinguished voice. Ken Vaughn
Perfect.
had that, didn't he?
Yeah. Ken and I were good friends. We've been friends since the late 60s when he first came to Conneaut. And we were friends pretty much up until he retired. And then I can't remember when he left the radio station under some kind of funny terms. I can't remember the exact reason, but he more or less went into retirement and didn't continue on doing any kind of broadcasting whatsoever. So.
Of course, now the station plays the kind of music that you and I both like, the baby boomer type music.
Yep, I love it.
That's still the greatest music, isn't it?
I love it, yeah.
They have breakfast with the Beatles on Sunday morning, 8 to 10. I mean, that's just fabulous music. So from the radio, then you also were at the newspaper, and with the News Herald at one time, right?
Started in 1968 at the Conneaut News Herald, and then...
How long were you there?
I was there till 85.
Quite a long time.
18 years, I think it was. My wife's got me beat. She works at the Star Beacon. She's at 35 years now.
Wow.
She's been there.
And she's doing well?
She's doing very well.
Good.
And she's talking about retiring. I go, wait a minute, you got a few more years to go. And she's a little younger than I am, quite a bit younger than I am. But anyway, I worked at the News Herald till 85. Then a bunch of businessmen started the Hometown News. And I worked there for about 5 years. That went out of business. And then John Lamson hired me for the Courier.
Now, the Hometown News, I vaguely remember that. Was there offices on Washington Street?
Liberty Street.
Liberty Street.
One of the right next to Bob Marcy's dad owned the building. He and his dad owned the building, a big brick building, and I think Anchor Insurance is there now.
Okay, I know where you're talking about now. Okay. Do you recall when you were at the News Herald or the Hometown News or the Courier, what some of the your best stories you wrote? Can you think of one that was the best story you think you ever wrote, or was intriguing to you, exciting?
I did hard news and City Hall stuff, and it was really nothing really stands out because it becomes, Chuck, when you do that kind of work, it just becomes, you go in, sit down and write the story, and you hand it in and it's done. The story that sticks in my mind the most, and I might have told you this before, was my best friend Danny Vorse was killed in a roofing accident, and I had to cover that, and I had to write the story, and I was like a basket case because we were like brothers, and he died on his birthday. And it was really tough, and that story sticks in mind. But I think I've always said this to kids that have asked me about journalism and stuff. I said I think that story made me the better newspaper person because you have to block out that friendship and you have to do your job. And
I was going to say, how tough was that to write?
It was horrifying. He died on a Saturday morning, when I called the hospital in the area, I said, may I have a condition report on Denny Force? And they said, we're sorry to tell you he's expired. I never heard that word before, expired. And back in those days, 1975, I was just young. And I turned around, wrote the story, but then I got up and told the editor, Tom Cooley, I said, I got to go now. And I just had to be alone. It was a terrible time.
Oh, I can imagine. And didn't you cover the story, I think you told me once, and I may be wrong, when the big movie came down here with Betty Davis? You covered that. So what was that? And you got to meet her, talk to her. What was that like? Share your thoughts on that.
It was like, everybody thinks movies are so glamorous, but it was boring. You know, we go down there, and to do one scene, it might take 4 or 5 hours to set up, get the sound right, and the lighting, and all that sort of stuff. It was at the community center back when it was where they filmed it, and they had all kinds of food there, you know. And I was milling around the food naturally, and right behind me, I hear this lady go, "I wonder who this guy is." And I turn around, it was Betty Davis, who was only about this tall, real short. And I said hello and everything.
Actress.
She didn't know I was, yes, tremendous. And she didn't know I was a reporter, so she's talking to me. Well, once she found out that I was with the media, that was it. She went into her trailer, and I couldn't talk to her anymore. No, she would not talk to the press. You know, but what a tiny little girl with a powerful voice and acting that was just phenomenal, you know. Yeah, it was kind of neat. It was kind of neat.
Not bad. Did you ever write any stories that afterwards you thought to yourself, why did I write that story?
You know, one of the hardest things when you're writing for a newspaper in a small town is you're touching a lot of people that you know, and or are related to people you know. Yeah, there was a lot of stories I had to write that I felt terrible about. When I was with the News Herald, I thought a lot of times about, do we really have to write this way? I mean, can we get around the story a little bit so we don't offend people? Well, the old-time newspaper people said, no, you're dreaming. That's not the way you do it. But I always tried to be careful about people's feelings, how they felt and stuff.
Did you ever get any phone calls at home from stories you wrote?
Oh, Lord, tons of them. Some very threatening. Very threatening. Threatened lawsuits and stuff. Never been sued.
That's gotta be horrible.
It wasn't fun. I had a lot of things that happened. I had my windows, when I lived in Ohio Drive with Denise, had my windows shot out, and we think we know who did it, and you would be very surprised. I'll tell you later, but you'd be surprised to who they thought did it. So I went to the then Mayor Paul Williams, my uncle, your uncle too, and told him about it. He brought the chief in at the time, and we talked about it and stuff, but nothing ever was done about it. So yeah, there's some bad times.
No, I can imagine. So then you did some TV work for Great Wave. You did the AM live show. You did that for how long?
8 years.
8 years. I think you started like it was in April
of 2008.
And when you first did that on television, what was your thoughts and feelings how you would do on TV?
Well, when I went to them, I had just left WOW, and I said, would you guys be interested in doing a talk show? And I just wanted to do the radio end of it, maybe just the voice. I didn't expect to go on television. I wasn't prepared for that. And I went in and talked to Ken Johnson and Jim Suplee, and they said, we're going to start you on Monday, but you'll be in front of a camera. And I go, why? I can't do that. I mean, it's ridiculous. And by the Lord, they did put me in front of a camera that Monday, and my first co-host was Tommy Dell, who helped me through that period for about 2 weeks, I think. Then I was nervous wreck, to be honest with you. But do you remember the time you and I had to go in on a bad snow day, and that parking lot was
skating
frozen?
Rink?
Yeah. And this guy walks across the parking lot like a 17-year-old kid, and I'm just kind of
Not
Tim
anymore.
Conway. It was horrifying.
Oh my goodness, yeah, lucky we got there early enough or we wouldn't have been on the air.
Right, that's right.
It was that bad.
I,
It really
I don't
was.
think we got in. I think we had a.
It was bad. I don't remember if we got in or not.
I think
but
we left the.
we may have been late.
We left the cars outside of the gate because I think that was frozen. And then we somehow got in the man door there that was on the side, and we had to skate across that parking lot. It was terrible. It was terrible. But we got on. I think we got on in time. I think.
Can you recall any interesting phone conversations you've had with people in the city or around the county?
As far as like with the AMI show, you mean?
Yeah, when you were on the television.
Yeah, tons of them. I mean, really good ones. The one that I think you and I are very much aware of was the Angel Wassey lost her dog. And I think you were working that day.
I was there that day, yes.
And we were announcing it on the air, and she was crying and everything. I had never met Angel before. She's since become a very good
It was
friend.
a golden retriever, if I remember.
It was.
Yeah.
Marley.
Yeah, Marley. That I couldn't think of the name.
I still have the tape of that. I kept that tape. And people were calling in saying, we think we saw the dog, blah, blah, blah. And finally, out of nowhere, some guy walks in. I can't remember his name. Nice guy. He said, I found this dog. I thought he said in Pennsylvania. He had run away. And so somebody must have called Angel at work, and she called in on the air and said, do you have my dog? And
Yeah.
we said, yeah.
That was a classic show.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it really was.
That was great. Then the other time, I don't know if you were there for that one, when there was a bear in town.
A bear?
Yeah.
Well, you know how I am with animals.
I know you, yeah. I still have that tape, you and the goat. Was it a goat or a sheep?
It was a
goat.
I think it was a goat.
I think
yeah.
it was, yeah. He sneezed on it.
Yeah, I was just getting ready. Everybody was saying, get close to him. And then he sneezed as soon as I got close.
It's a classic. I should have brought, well, we couldn't have shown it anyway, but it was a classic. Yeah, there was a bear in town. I can't remember. I think he was found sleeping on a porch somewhere. You imagine walking out on your porch and get the paper and there's a bear laying there.
Yeah, I don't remember this one, so I wasn't there that day. Thank goodness.
Yeah. And he was running through town. People were chasing it, and then people were calling in. This is when the phone started ringing the most. This is right at the beginning of the show when we first started. And people were calling in, the bear's running down Parish Road now, and always down Chamberlain. I mean, it was good stuff for about 2 hours. The bear finally disappeared. They never did find him. So.
You had a show one time where you were running a contest. I think you even had the dentist, Dwayne Cole, come in about kissing the cow. And you guys wanted me to kiss that cow. I stuck to my guns. I did not kiss that cow.
No, but you were there,
I
weren't
was
you?
there, yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody kissed the cow but me. And every time I go to Dwayne Cole now, he keeps mentioning that to me.
Does he
Still
remember
don't want
it?
to kiss that cow.
He remembers?
He remembers it well, yes.
Yeah, oh, I remember that morning. Yeah, it was another strange morning.
Oh, so those were good times, though.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And like
good
you
times.
said, you had a lot of co-hosts, Steve Grant, Tom Udell, myself.
Yep.
I think you had the library girls here.
Library girls, Kathy, Chrissy Naylor,
Oh, yes, that's right.
Penny Armini.
Yeah.
I mean, and these people, you know this, did this for free.
Yeah.
You know, there's no budget whatsoever. And they never let me down. All you guys always came in and helped me out. And without you guys, I could have never survived that show. You need somebody to talk to.
Speaking of Penny Armini, and then she ended up having her own 30-minute show during your time slot on a Thursday, wasn't it? Didn't she have a show that she used to do on her own?
I can't remember that.
Seems like
She would come in every Thursday,
Yeah.
and do 2 hours
Yeah.
with me. Chris actually had her own little show about designing your living room or something. That, and then one night Michelle said, "You know, she does a good job. You got to use her as one of your co-hosts." So we added her. She was a natural. She just because she likes to talk. You know, she did a good job.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some current events. Of course, a lot of negative stuff in the news, like the Las Vegas shootings. Isn't that horrible?
Yes.
Just horrible. And of course, here in town, we've got the city council. We've got some movement happening there. We got Nicholas Church, who resigned,
Yeah.
and Deborah Newcomb's going to go in that spot.
Right.
Of course, she's seeking that seat come November.
Right.
And you said you covered a lot of city Council News.
Mm-hmm.
When you were covering back in the day, what were some of the topics that you can remember that were like hot on the burner?
One of the biggest things was when I first started out covering council was probably 1969, and Uncle Paul was third ward councilman, and for some reason he had a vendetta against Jack Sanford, who was the police chief, and every council meeting, which was every other Monday night, he would cut down Jack, and I always liked Jack. Jack was a good friend of mine, and he just got on him. I think that went until about 1975, 74, 75, and finally, I think when Paul became mayor in 76, he had Jack resign. But Jack was retirement age, so he went easily, but they did not get along. But it gave us good copy for stories.
Yeah. It sure did. And I remember when you were getting ready to, retire, you kind of got fed up and tired with listening to all the negative council news and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was really it can get to you, Ken.
Absolutely.
When you hear that every day.
Well, you figure from 68 until 2015, I had to cover every council meeting, every work session. Luckily, for a while there, they were showing work sessions on TV, so I didn't have to go out of the house. I could watch the council meetings at home, take my notes, write the stories, and go in and do it, read them in the morning. It got to the point where maybe a long time before that, I was ready to say it's time to hang it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like 66 years old when I retired, so.
One of your favorite things that you always like to do is watch movies.
Mm-hmm.
You would talk about movies just about every day on your show, what you saw, you and your wife there.
Mm-hmm.
What good movies have you seen lately?
Oh man, I saw one of the best movies I've ever seen. I don't think it was last night, I think it was the night before, called Book of Henry. And one of the best movies I've ever seen. I'd never heard of it, but it just came out this week, and just an outstanding movie about faith, and you have to see it to believe it. And believe me, there's a couple times I had to pull a couple of Kleenexes up because my eyes were watering. One of those kind of tearjerker movies. But highly recommend it. The Book of Henry's the name of it.
Do you have a favorite kind of movie, like tearjerkers or westerns or comedies?
Oh yeah, I like westerns. I've watched a lot of westerns.
My dad used to love westerns.
I know he did.
During his older years, he said they were hardly making any westerns anymore.
No. But your dad and I go back and watch the old ones.
Yeah.
We watched John Wayne back in the 30s and 40s and enjoyed that. And we talked about it quite often.
Sure.
Even on the air. But I like one of my favorite movies, believe it or not, is a kid's show. It's called E.T. The little Martian guy.
That's your favorite?
One of my favorite movies. I love that.
Did you have a favorite actress and actor?
The one that, I hate to say it again, but John Wayne. I always liked John Wayne, the Duke. I mean, how can you not like that guy, And I just found out a few years ago that my former publisher, Don Rowley, who had land in Arizona, lived right next door to John Wayne. And every Friday night they'd get together, have drinks, and play cards. Him and a bunch of other guys, a lot of extras and stuff. Said he was the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet, Didn't wear his toupee when he was at home. He took that off. He was bald.
Yeah.
As far as actress, I don't know. I probably Betty Davis. I'd like to watch her movies. She's good.
Yeah.
I go back. I like watching the old movies.
Yeah, my dad used to like those old movies too.
Yeah.
We got to talk a little sports, Pat.
Absolutely.
We got to talk about the Cleveland Indians. Let's start with the good team first.
Great.
Are you a little bit nervous playing the New York Yankees coming into this 5-game series?
I am.
What,
I am.
what makes you a little bit nervous about it?
I was listening to someone talking last night, and they showed concern because they said the Yankees have a really good bullpen,
They
too.
do. They do. They can match the Indians' bullpen.
And can match
It
it.
might be a little bit better.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, it
but didn't
might
we
be.
beat them in the overall series?
We
this
did
year?
5 out of 7, but you can throw that out the door.
Exactly.
Postseason, it's a different game.
Do you see them going to the World Series?
The Indians,
Yeah.
I think they have a chance, yes. But I think a lot of those, there just seems to be a lot of good teams in the postseason this year.
A lot. I mean, the Twins, we beat up on the Twins, but the Twins are not a slumpy team.
Looked like they were going to win last night, the way they got off to that
Yeah.
3-run start in the first.
Yep, yeah. What about the Dodgers? What do you think about them?
Well, they had the best record in Major League
Right.
Baseball. I don't know. The Cubs still scare me over there in the National League.
They still do?
Yes, they still scare me, and my wife and my sons asked me who would I rather play, the Twins or the Yankees, and I would say I don't care. But now that I look at it, the Yankees have that. They're the media darlings of the country, so all the media is going to be on the Yankees. Just like last year, we had heard all this about the Cubs. Now I'm thinking we're going to hear all this about the Yankees.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm a little bit more afraid just because of their reputation, not because I think they have a better ball team.
Well, Francona yesterday in his interview or his press conference said it doesn't matter who they play. Just the bottom line is you got to win.
Yeah. Right.
So I like him.
He's got to be one of the top managers of the game, and yet I still question some of his moves. Like, why aren't you pitching Corey Kluber in Game 1 of the American League Division Series?
Jim Donovan questioned that last night in the news. He said, "Why wouldn't you go for the first win?"
Yeah.
Kluber's.
All year long you heard them say you got to score first, get the lead, never want to come from behind. Well, it should be the same thing in a division series.
What do you think of Bauer? Do you think he's?
I think he's done a great job. I think he came on. He can be lights out tomorrow night, but he has a tendency once in a while to get a little erratic. Mm-hmm. And if something doesn't go his way, it turns him off.
That's what bothers me.
Yes.
Did you see him yell at that batter last week?
Yeah. Or if he doesn't get a call from an umpire, that could
He pouts.
Yeah, and it affects his pitching then for the next couple of batters.
Yep. Yeah.
But if there's no issues or he has no problems, I think he can get the job done. We know Corey Kluber can get it done.
Right.
Carlos Carrasco can get it done. It should be an interesting series. I don't think it'll be like last year where they're going to win 3 straight, though.
I'm still hurting about what happened last year because I thought we had it. I thought we were going to win that series, and it just fell apart.
I've had so many people tell me who normally don't watch baseball on an everyday basis like I do, say that they were watching because they were fun to watch. And they were fun and exciting, these young guys. Yeah, they were.
Yeah. I watched almost every game this year, and I told Michelle, I think this could be the year. I really think they can do it. And Elvis Ramirez, he's something else.
Isn't he something else, is right?
He can do anything.
I think their chances to win it are just as good as anybody.
It's too bad Zimmer got hurt.
Yeah, that hurts.
I
And I don't
that
like
kid.
this Kipnis going in center field. I
don't
don't
either.
like it.
I don't either.
And again, here I go. I'm questioning the manager. Yeah, he knows his team a lot better than I do. But, and he's...
Well, your cousin Bruce Drennan, who you and
my
I
cousin.
we've talked to him, both of us.
Oh,
have.
yeah, we have.
And he said yesterday, he kind of questions things, and he said he questioned Francona last year, and then he said everything worked out pretty much the way it should.
Yeah, it
and he
probably
went
will again this
and
year.
went and apologized to him for thinking that. He said because he said the guy's just fabulous.
It takes a lot for Bruce to apologize.
I know, you know that.
Well, I hate to end the interview with bad news, but Pat, I know you're a big-time Browns fan. Are you still?
I'm
Of
gonna
course
tell you
we are.
something.
I mean, we do.
I am. Last Sunday was the first time in like 30 years that Michelle did not watch a single minute of that game. She just
They
couldn't.
were hard to watch.
And I even got up and was watching some Alaskan show and was flipping the channels around, went and played on a computer. I says, I can't take this. I mean, they're getting worse. There's something wrong there. And Michelle claims, and she's a big football fan.
Yeah, she is.
She thinks it's Hugh Jackson, that he's not correcting things that he should be correcting. He's every week he says, we're going to grow from this. When are you going to grow? You know, they're not growing.
Yeah.
And Greg Williams' defense was lousy last night.
And that was supposed to be a strength of the team.
Right.
I haven't seen it.
It's not.
And what about this Brit who can't catch any passes, making Kaiser look even worse than he already is?
Did you see the paper today?
Uh-huh.
Jackson said, if I had an alternative wide receiver, I would have benched him. But I didn't have anybody else to go to.
Makes you feel sorry for him. He really doesn't. He's telling you the truth. Who are you going to put in?
So
he's
I
a
think
9-year veteran.
And he can't catch the ball anymore. I think what Jackson's trying to do is get that front office to invest in some talent here, because their wide receiving core stinks.
I had heard, Pat, maybe you heard, I don't know. I don't even know where I heard it. When Joe Hayden was let go, that Hugh Jackson had no idea that was happening because him in the front office weren't communicating.
That's true. And they're denying that there's any front office problems. I kind of question that. My son thinks Haslam will get rid of Jackson in another couple of weeks. I don't know whether he will, because he doesn't want to upset the cart too much, but they still got 12 more games to go. I mean, we're going to put up with another losing season.
How about Haslam getting rid of Haslam?
There's a lot of people
I sometimes wonder if he's not the big problem.
Was it Dave Anthony on one of your posts saying that the whole organization stinks?
Yeah, he did. What's your thoughts on Deshaun Kaiser?
I think he's not ready. I don't think he's ready yet. And I know Jackson's saying, oh, he had lights out game the other day. He's still making a lot of mistakes. And
you think he hangs on to the ball too long?
Yes, way too long. Why aren't they using Kessler?
I don't know.
I mean, he has a little more. I mean, he played last year.
Yeah.
And then I didn't like Osweiler, but I'm wondering maybe they should have kept him.
I know. It was a tough call to make, but maybe playing Kaiser, and if he can play every game, maybe it'll give him a year's experience whenever they do get better, if they get better. They can't get worse, but they are.
It's pathetic. It really is.
One of their best players is Duke Johnson.
I love that.
I'd like to see him run, too, a little bit more.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think he scored the only touchdown last week. He's a good little runner. And I think this Crowell is overrated.
I agree. I'm glad to hear you say that.
I just am not enthused with him.
I think he is overrated too.
Yeah, it's too bad. He says he wants 1,000 yards. He'll never get it the way he's running. I mean, he's only got a couple hundred yards, if that. You
think they can get a win this year?
I've told my son Steve that I don't think they'll win one game.
Because these games they've been playing, the Colts and the Bengals and the Jets, those were supposed to be the winnable games because the schedule gets tougher.
What are they going to do with Brady in New England and some of these other teams that are powerhouses? I mean, Cincinnati, they were supposed to beat Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They got beaten bad.
It really is sad, and it's
do you still watch them?
Embarrassing. I watched last week for about 3 quarters, and they switched over to the Indians. Even though their game didn't mean anything.
Right.
I couldn't watch it anymore. 31-0.
Yeah, we did that too. We switched over to the Indians. So you got a game tonight. Of course, by the time this interview shows next week, we'll know who's going to the World Series. Maybe not. I think you have another series after this.
We got the game tonight you're talking about is that National League wild card game.
Right.
Yeah, Arizona and Colorado. The winner of that game will play the Dodgers.
Okay.
In a series.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting to see how it pans out for the Indians.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they can. The first 2 games are big because they're at home.
Right. Yeah.
At worst, 1-1, but you want to win them both.
Now, how does that work for the series? Like, if the Indians get in the World Series, that playoff advantage has gone away, right?
Well, they will have home field advantage against anybody they play in the World Series except if it's the Dodgers. The
Really?
Dodgers would have it then. Yeah, they had the best record, so they would have the home field advantage. But if Cleveland was to play the Cubs or Washington or Arizona, they would get the home field. So root against the Dodgers,
Okay.
just for that reason. Of course, we had the home field advantage in the World Series last year. But you would have never thought so with all the Cub fans in the ballpark.
I know. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was
And
amazing.
I kind of think you always get a lot of Yankee fans up here in Cleveland too.
But isn't it fun though to see your team go to the World Series?
Yes.
Even
Yes.
though they didn't win.
I got to see it 3 times. You got to see it more than that, didn't you? Let's see. 19, no, 3 for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not that much older than me. That's right.
95, 97,
And
and this last one.
16, yeah. And hopefully we'll see another one.
And I can remember as a little boy in 1954, I mean, really a young kid, the Chief Wahoo, he was on all the cars in Pontiac. I didn't know what that was, I was probably 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is that little Indian guy? Here, they're still using them to this day. But yeah, it's exciting. I'm hoping that they go to the World Series, and I really enjoy sitting at home watching those games. I think it's the Kiwanis Club is giving away 2 tickets.
I thought, Lou Shiley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I saw that in the Star Beacon today.
Yeah.
I think they're $20 a ticket or something.
Right. Two
Yeah,
tickets.
That's something to shoot for. Let's close, Pat, with Kyrie Irving. What did you think of him leaving town?
I hate to say this, but I think Kyrie Irving's a spoiled brat. There's so many other basketball players that would envy playing alongside James. He wants to be his own man. He wants to be the star, and he wasn't going to get that as long as LeBron was there. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that he's going to make a big difference with Boston. I mean, they'll win games, but I don't think I just don't see them being a major threat. I think the Cavs, they're going to have a tremendous year this year.
I do too.
I really do.
I do.
And I see they got Love as a center now.
Mm-hmm. And Dwayne Wade is with them now.
Yep.
Even though he's up there in years, but he can
35.
still give you probably 20, 25 minutes a game.
Oh yeah. And I guess it's on TV tonight on the sports or the Fox.
Oh, exhibition game, is it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Wade's playing for James, so I kind of want to see him play. Does he still have it? I mean,
Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
He has it enough to where he can help that team win. To whether they can beat a Golden State team or not, I don't know. The Golden State team is just murderous.
Yeah, Steph Curry.
Yeah. Well, Pat, this has been fun.
It has been. Thank
do
you
it
so
again.
much. Thank you very much
And,
for having me.
Good luck in your retirement. Of course, you've been retired how many years, did you say?
Going on 2.
2 years.
Yeah, going on
I'm
2.
looking at retirement too.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, but I don't know if anybody else in my house is looking at it. Well, thanks again for being on this show.
Thank
Pat Williams, my guest today on Around the Town with Chuck.